Absolutely. Like, it's one of those things where what can't you do with a chicken in D&D? Like, you get their eggs, bam, throw that at some goblins, good to go. You can boil them eggs, get them all, like, let them rot. You got little stink bombs, good to go.
I mean, from what I've heard, goblins do love eggs.
Is like that Boondocks episode? Like, you can bribe the white man with cheese, bribe the goblin with eggs.
I think I have heard of this, yeah. If you are going to bribe a goblin, you get some, like, pickled eggs or something. Some, like, dragon's feet, maybe? I don't know.
I'll get that iguana foot, chew on that, you'll be set for the whole day.
Chimera feathers or something, I don't know.
Well, where would you harvest chimera feathers? Like, would they even be tasty? Like, I don't know.
If I remember my mythology, a basilisk was formed by using a chicken incubating a snake's egg.
This is true.
So,
that leaves a lot to be. That leaves a lot of ideas for players if you start interacting with those kind of rules in your games. Like, okay, we got snake eggs, we got mama chicken right here. She's going to incubate these eggs. Boom, good to go. Wild shit.
I can see it.
Like, I mean, come on. Who doesn't want the sentient Sir Bok Bok?
Sir Bok Bok. He sounds like an artist.
Sir Bok Bok, the bard of the party. Just play a sentient chicken bard.
His instrument is a harpsichord.
Yeah.
All the Bach, and his brother is Beethoven.
Thank you. Thank you.
Boom, got him. I once had a music teacher get super pissed off at me because he was talking about Beethoven. I'm like, beat oven.
That's literally all I could think about whenever I see Beethoven. Beat oven.
Yeah, listen here, Mr. Beat Oven. Nah, let's start the show, dude. Welcome to Dungeons and Talkshows, the talk show that brings you dungeons, news, and homebrews. Monsters 2. Did I finally get it right, Sam?
I mean, it comes and goes, Welcome. I am Sam. I bring the monsters usually.
And I'm Orion. I bring something to the table to be determined. But more importantly, we have a guest with us today. How about you introduce yourself?
Yeah. I'm IDBN, and I create third-party content for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition for right now. In the future, I hope to branch out and do work in a lot of other places.
Hell yeah. Love to hear it, man. Thank you for your work.
Oh. Yeah, I believe we first came across the Coffee Warlock patron of your work.
It was such a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago, and I was just kind of like, so many people revere coffee in such a way that it's like, it works. I'm vibing with it. I love it. And I think when we talked about that homebrew on the show, we're like, something looks a little weird with the levels there. Didn't mean to call you out on that. Maybe a typo or something.
That was totally a typo, yeah.
It's all good.
It happens to the best of us. But when we were talking about that on the show, it's like, well, if he gets that at 10th level, clearly the 6th level thing to get right here would be just being able to, pass a cup to somebody else. Give someone else a coffee, call it, coffee run or something. Or praise the bean.
There's another person who recently, or not so recently, a couple months back, put out a barista, a coffee shop Eldritch patron for the Warlock.
Ooh,
and I believe that was their 10th level ability to pass out their specific drink to other users.
I see.
So yeah, it's a good idea. One that I wish I had thought of at the time.
It's all good. I feel like that's got to be like the great part of making this stuff, because you just get so many more ideas after you put it out. You're like, oh, I should have thought of that. Like, that's so good.
I don't think I've ever put out anything that I declare as final. Everything is just the most recent draft.
Exactly. Everything is constantly changing. I can only imagine.
And yeah, sometimes it takes a good long while when you have a concept and then you're refining it and getting feedback and being uncertain about things. My longest running project, currently called The Keeper, I've been working on for close to 4 years now, 4, maybe 5 years. And it's gone through 6 or 7 fairly sizable revisions to get to a place where I'm pretty close to being happy with it. I think there are still 1 or 2 more tweaks that'll happen to it in the future, but
is this your, help me out, Orion, what's it called, your magnum opus?
Magnum opus, masterpiece, your baby, like the
child, I guess.
In some ways, it's been the thing that I've kept coming back to and working on for a long time. I doubt that it'll be the biggest thing that I ever I hope it's not the biggest thing that I ever accomplish, because I want to keep on moving on to new things and new and impressive things. But yeah, for now, it's definitely the thing that I've put the most effort into and I think gotten the best response to. It's a sort of Jinchuriki class, so like playing Naruto.
Ooh.
Moving with the
we're all weebs here, so
yes.
We're all gung-ho for this.
An eldritch being locked up inside you and drawing on its powers for your own. The tagline in my head is always build like a warlock, play like a barbarian, which ends up being, after several workthroughs, I realized what I created was a inverse paladin, where basically all the mechanical decisions that went into the divine half-caster paladin I have reversed. So half-casters tend to have this thing where they have spell slots, but they also have a additional way of using spell slots, just so that in some ways I think it's actually to soak up enough of that utility function for them to actually feel it useful to make attacks in combat. So for rangers, that is to a greater and lesser extent used in their primeval awareness feature. For paladins, it's obviously the smite, even if smiting has kind of taken over the class. So paladins have utility buffing spells and a damage mechanic. The Keeper has the reverse, of where it has damage spells and buffing mechanics.
I like how you really turned that on his head right there, because like you said, it's the complete inverse, and I like the way that functions, because with you're kind of beholden to that otherworldly power, while the paladins are all beholden to their oath. You know,
it's funny, kind of looking at the most recent 50th anniversary 5th edition proposals that WotC is putting out with the half-caster version of the Warlock, and watching people get really angry about it and looking at it and go, no, I understand the decisions that they made here, because I basically made the exact same ones as I was going through and noticing the problems of this.
Well, it's so funny that the half-caster is such a big discussion. I was just thinking about making like kind of an idea of a half-caster with the shadow boxer. I was telling you about Orion idea.
I want to see that get more fleshed out, so we can put that on the Patreon at some point. But
I thought it sounded really cool. So my idea was, a kind of sorcery fighter. He's like a melee fighter. He picks up, like, he has the magic. It's like sorcery. Awakens inside him. He has like an attunement to like shadow magic, right? He's a shadow boxer now. So he's bending shadows, hitting you with shadows, fading into shadows. I think that sounds really cool. Hitting you from a
It sounds
distance, punches. Like,
It sounds a lot more rich than the actual shadow sorcerer, which kind of like you can eventually like teleport between shadows and stuff at some point. But like overall, sorcerer, like when it comes to a lot of early sorcerer subclasses, they leave a lot to be desired.
You do, yeah. You don't really get the feeling of like, this is my birth power. Like, you know.
Sorcerer's power budget is just so wrapped up in having both spells and meta magics taking up so much of that power budget that it's really hard to. You can make evocative features, but then you're starting to have to build those evocative features for specific game types. Right. And like, I think a lot of homebrewers try to make their creations useful in a lot of different game types. And I think that's sort of a disservice because like not enough people are going to reach out and find your specific homebrew. Right. So targeting a narrower audience rather than a broader audience, I think can ultimately be more rewarding because the people who like playing those specific types of games, when they come across something that really works for that, are going to be really excited to play it. I have a small series of things that I've been working on for campaigns that take place like in just the same city. So it starts getting interested into like where your house is, the turf around your place, the kinds of people that you know, and trying to hook into those fictional elements and bring mechanics to them.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing because it holds people accountable for what they do, because if the campaign is primarily taking place in just one city, then all of a sudden everyday interactions with the NPCs and the local law enforcement become a whole lot more weighted.
Oh, I love it. It's actually one of the I like my campaigns to take place in those same areas. One, because it's a lot easier for me to improv characters that I have this like stock reserve of like, oh, you're gonna go meet this person, but also then like I can bring them in of like, oh, this NPC that you've seen 3 or 4 times before and you have something of a rapport with. I can bring them in a future and surprising way as either like put them in danger or have them be a surprise out or an ally for you. And that sort of rewards engagement in the world. And I love that kind of stuff for my players to be like caring about the world around them.
No, definitely agree with that.
It absolutely goes a little bit of both ways. Like, if you have, like, a built-up rapport, like, oh, they really like this guy, and it's like, oh, sorry, buddy, I got hired by this other dude to kind of stand in your way on this specific thing. You can't talk me out of it. I got a wife and kids to feed. You can't kill him. He's got a wife and kids to feed.
Right.
Or, on the flip side, it's also really fun when players have a character they just hate. And just getting to bring them back up, because it brings a reaction every time you bring this person in. They're all like, not this guy. And the whole like scene shifts.
Yeah, the mood changes,
I absolutely love that. Like, I had a lot of that reaction every time I whip out this one NPC, a little bit of an old, reliable kind of character named Sonny. He's just an older guy with that too chipper, too nice of an attitude, like way too optimistic. And of course, with D&D players, you throw something like that out there, they're like, okay, something is wrong with this man. He's a villain. He's a murderer. There's something going on. Nobody is that nice. This is a trap somehow.
Turns out the worst thing that you can be in D&D is not evil. It's annoying.
Yeah, it's just a guy.
Because one of the key factors for this character Sonny is him being annoying, because he got a bit of an accent. He's like, hey, my name's Sonny, and this right here is my horses Salt and Pepper, and they're just the cutest things you ever did see. Whoa, 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 tall, dark, and gloomy, you can't get on this carriage. Only smiley faces up on this carriage. And it's just instant hate. Carriage.
It's a shame I didn't get to meet this character.
You could. I can always bring him back.
He's
a fan hated. Like I don't know what. it's not exactly a favorite. Like,
Right.
I need a term for that.
A appropriate heel.
Yeah.
People who we love to hate.
What is it called? It's like
I like that.
Guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure NPCs, the ones that we love to hate.
Exactly.
Like I made the boss in one campaign just like a complete asshole. Like he invites them to like a little bit of a brunch as a reward
Treats them
afterwards,
like shit
and
the entire time.
sticks them with the bill and runs out.
He's like passive aggressive the entire time.
Characters that you hate to love.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's another good thing.
And those are great. Of just like getting to play somebody who's like incredibly charismatic and in control of the scene, and because they're acting like they're in control, the players are just like, he's
Somebody
great.
Just kind of assume. Yes, it's like he just kept acting like he was in control, and well, no one asked.
Yeah, I guess we believe him. Seems fine to me.
I had a bard character once that I was playing as an NPC, and they were at 1 hit point after the assassin almost completely killed them, and the party walks up on them as the character is taking a bath, and the character's just like, "Oh, I'm glad that you're here. I'm happy to have this conversation with you." And the players were just like, "Wait, what?"
True NPC reaction.
So, but yeah, I was really flattered when you guys featured the coffee lock, the coffee warlock.
Thanks, I really thought it was cool.
Your podcast. It's something that I had kept in my sort of like stash of things of like, this is interesting, but I'll post it up when I have like a down week and not a high creativity space. So it was cool to see that gain some traction with people.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, like we really loved it.
Yeah, when we saw it, it's one of those things where it's like, this is so unique, it's so different. You can't help but love it. Like,
especially with all the coffee lock jokes. Like, yeah. It is well and truly a meme. I don't think I've ever really seen a coffee lock in play, but it's definitely one of those memes that just lives on forever.
Yeah, I think you can definitely tell in people's work when they had fun with it, and I think you could definitely feel that you had fun with that one.
So I've been listening to your podcast for several episodes, and I've noticed that you've picked up several homebrews each month or each week, and I'm really intrigued by what you guys pick up. So I'm curious what sparks your interest when you come across a piece of homebrew or third-party content. Like, what is it that makes your mind go fire off of like, oh, this is interesting. This is something that I want to look into or bring into my world.
Okay.
In my case, it's pure whim. Like, if something just like catches my eye, I'm just like, that's it. I'll know it when I see it, and when I see it, it's there. Like I'll peruse Reddit, see what they got going on. He likes to go through like, what do you do, like Instagram or something?
Yeah, I do Instagram, Tumblr. I check Reddit. I have a few websites that I go back to, like the CrossFit Studios I have today again. They do the Mysterious Wonderwares. I've talked about them a few times. They always have cool stuff that I see.
We've had a bunch of content creators join our Discord server over time, so every now and then I'm like, hey, I'll I'm strapped. I forgot to prep a homebrew this week. So I'll be like, okay, Amethyst Dragon, what do you got for me today, buddy? And I'm just like, okay, no, that's it. Yeah, he's amazing. We've had him on the show a couple times, although the first time we had some major recording difficulties, so it's like, okay, that episode's lost in limbo. We might be able to salvage it together one day with some editing prowess, but not today.
I think for me, usually, it's definitely like designs that catch my eye, and then like the uniqueness of what it is. Like for example, like this is a club that I'm looking at right now. It's a fucking pogo stick. Like, how can I not want to talk about this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just
I love that unique creativity.
absolutely. It's like with the coffee lock thing. Like, you got me. Like, growing up, I hated coffee, but now as an adult, I've really kind of taken to drinking coffee, especially over this past year. So it's just like, okay, you know what? This relates to me now. Like, I get it.
I'm sure that in like 80 years, a bunch of like scientific reports are gonna come out of just like, yeah, caffeine just like destroys your nerves or something, and I'm gonna be sitting there with my triple shot latte and going like, yeah, sips coffee anyway.
It's one of those things, like, it's responsible for the Renaissance in some respects, because that's where coffee and tea, which were higher in caffeine than anything else that was being had at the time, just kind of like sparked, like, oh, people are more energetic, they want to go do stuff. While anyone drinking alcohol at the time is like, you know, I just want to sit here and drink more.
Right.
I have actually read that PhD article or that PhD thesis paper. So yeah, somebody actually proposed that as an academic and got their PhD on that, and it's a great art.
Wow.
It's a great read.
One of these days, I want to see like some of the more outlandish things that people use for those thesis PhD articles, you know, like like I once wrote a book report on the first couple volumes of Bleach when I was in high school. I want to see somebody pull some shit off like that, you know?
Okay, I did a report on Naruto when I was in middle school.
I read somebody's master's thesis on Homestuck. I do have to admit, to my great shame, that I was a part of that fandom.
You were like,
nobody hates
let's
Homestuck
go.
like a Homestuck fan.
You were ready for it. You were like, I'm here for this. Oh,
it's one of those things.
It's so good.
My home game ran a 3-year-long Fate Accelerated campaign based off of the sort of like world-ending, world-creating game in Homestuck.
Wow.
And I mean, it got very weird very quickly.
I believe it.
But
damn.
Now I know nothing about Homestuck. You know,
That's
and
okay.
even back then, like
that's
all
okay.
I know is like when you get people with a very creative setting, and it's just like, okay, shit's gonna get wild real fucking quick. I'm always gung-ho for it. Like the time we ran that Ruby campaign, and it effectively amounted to my brother found his character dangling like 120 feet away from the airship by just a little, like a string. Like he's just holding on for dear life.
Oh yeah.
And, like,
yep.
Oh, man.
Ran a couple shots of a homebrewed Ruby campaign that was a card-based resolution system.
ooh, I've never tried a card-based system. What's that like?
I've tried making one several times, and the Ruby system the card system ended up being good enough to be like, this honestly is not an RPG. This is a setup for a board game. So we were put it to the side, and then I never came back to it. I've had another
fair enough.
card-based like deck RPG system, and it.
Bless you.
It was one of those things that was fun because I was playing it with my friends, and we could smooth out any issues as they arose, and I could make rulings on the fly, so it seemed seamless.
Yeah.
But it was really glorified make-believe.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that all tabletops right now anyways? Because like,
yeah.
like I'm amazed I didn't
yeah.
come across tabletops earlier in life with how much I would do that kind of stuff growing up, you know?
That was my life. Was being kind of an antisocial, well, not antisocial kid, kind of an antisocial kid. Most of my friends were imaginary for a long time. They weren't like imaginary friends, but I was telling stories to myself,
Right.
creating worlds, making my own seasons of Digimon.
Ah,
Yes, Digimon is another one of those like one true
Yes.
loves.
Man, you might just be my favorite guest we've had so far. I'm so sorry.
Favorite Digimon season.
Oh man, okay.
mm.
No, I have a lot of love for like Data Squad, you know, and like the original, but I feel like I personally I always vibed with like O2, you know, like Davis and Cody.
I mean,
I
O2
feel that.
is a mess, but it's a beautiful mess.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful mess for me, and it's
It-
such like I rewatched
Yeah.
it recently, you know, and like it was not what I remembered at all. But like I was like I could see why I love this so much. Like
Yeah, I feel that. Like, honestly, like I really want Frontier to be my favorite because that theme song, that opening goes hard, and the concept of the kids like turning into like a Digivolve thing. And I thought that when I was a kid, I thought that shit was badass. But looking back on it, it's like the writing is terrible. What the fuck were you guys doing? Like this writing is
they had
dog
the best
shit.
intro, but like I could not like that show for some reason. Like I just
okay.
couldn't get over. I was like, the creatures are gone.
What they
Here's
should have
what you
done
do
is
then.
like fuse, you know, like if the kids fused with a Digimon, boom,
No,
that fixes everything.
Have I got a season for you?
You have
Have I got a season for you? It's the
Sure do.
best season of Digimon, Tamers, the third one.
Yeah, I love Tamers too.
Okay, yeah, Tamers
I
was
like
pretty
that
solid.
too, but I do really like Tamers.
Tamers was done by the same guy who did Serial Experiments Lane. Also, another fantastic anime. Kind of trippy, but really cool. And he also worked on Neon Genesis Evangelion in there.
Right.
So
You know, suddenly a
why
lot of that it makes a lot more sense now.
yeah, the episode for the Dark Ocean in O2, the one that brings in Dagomon and the Cthulhu mythos, is the person who eventually came on and did season 3, and bringing it back to D&D. It's one of my favorite things is bringing in things like the Cthulhu mythos and putting them into
absolutely.
worlds.
It's really funny that you say
like-
that. That's exactly pretty much what I'm doing in my Grim Hollows game right now.
He's
yeah.
big into that kind of stuff.
The very first sealed creature that I did for the keeper was the aberration. So like the apocalyptic elder god sealed inside you. Of like, that's just a really cool bit of fiction. Of like, I've got Cthulhu in my stomach.
I love that.
This is fine.
Yeah,
Everything's
it's pretty
fine.
awesome.
It's a lot of RP, and honestly, that kind of stuff, it puts more stress on the player to be more interactive with their class concept. You know, like, a fighter's always going to be like, oh, hey, I'm Mr. Good Fight at things, so if there's something I can kick its ass, I'm going to go kick its ass. Okay, yeah. Very in tune with what you are as a fighter, but, like, with Warlocks, you have to be in tune with your patron. You have to be constantly interacting. Like, that time that Sam played a Warlock in one of my games, he took Tiamat as his patron. And every now and then, like, she would appear to him in, like, some way, shape, or form, like, whether it be, like, in a reflection and start talking to him. And then, like, the rest of the party would be unaware of what's going on. Then, next morning he wakes up in a bunch of blood that's not his in an alley. Nobody knows where he's at.
It is kind of a shame that Warlock has I won't say the worst design of the original core classes, because Monk is there. But it is certainly the class that is easiest to go wrong on and requires the highest system mastery.
I can see
but
that.
it's also the class with the best integration of fiction and mechanics, because the mechanics directly inform the fiction, and the fiction directly informs the mechanics. And you're like, this is how close mechanics and fiction should be for every class.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Like I think
Yeah.
Artificer could be a little bit better in that regard, where like it's close, it's very close, but like they put too much emphasis on like, oh hey, you're doing magic, but it's kind of inventions ish. So like if you have to kind of like double down on your flavor for that to work out the way that it does.
Yeah.
But like I think if they wanted to improve it, you know.
Yeah, there's a reason why Kibble's Inventor has replaced the Artificer at my tables.
Ooh, I'm curious about this.
Kibble's Inventor is a half-caster class, which is based more on the original presentation for the Artificer, which is imagine a half-caster where most of the features are sort of eldritch invocations that are unique to each subclass.
I could see that. I feel like
I do like that.
Yeah, I feel like because in that sense you're not only are you inventing these machinations, you're kind of weaving your own spellcraft into it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I feel like Artificer, for example, doesn't do that well enough.
Artificer is an interesting mechanical basis, because while they could do that sort of like each subclass is its own thing, that requires a significant amount of overhead for creating each subclass. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I think they were starting to work on as they were moving in that direction is trying to make things be future compatible, so that they didn't have to copy and paste things over and over and over again, which is, I think, a lesson that they're starting to learn from Magic the Gathering, where they will have like templates or keywords that they use regularly with meaning. But when they were starting to bring that over and being like, look, we can't design 3/4 of a new class every time we want to add a subclass. So they restricted it down and had the sort of mess of a class that they have right now. Right. Though WotC is not exactly without a history for making things that are a little bit of a mess. Like, yeah,
absolutely.
In a lot of internet spaces, I end up being the token WotC defender, and that's mostly because it's like, look, I can understand what they're doing here. Like, right. I can work through the reasons that one might get here. Now, do I think that this solution is the best? Not exactly, but these people are good designers. They're not stupid. They play their game. They have a different they have different goals for the work that they make than something that we third-party creators can make. Because we make things to play, whereas they make things to play in as far as they can be sold, which comes with some other interesting requirements. Like, for example, the updates to 5th edition, the 5.5 editions, they put out a lot of really interesting ideas, but they were hampered by the business side of things of like, no, look, this has to be backwards compatible with everything else we've put. And I'm like, look, no, make it backwards convertible. But like, if you're going to go through and like fix things, go ahead and like touch some of the fundamental issues that are still there in D&D Next. But
yeah, it's complicated in that regard. But at the same time, it's like, it sucks having to be the only WotC kind of devil's advocate defender there, because like, well, how dare you have critical thinking and put yourself in someone else's shoes?
Then again, there are definitely times when I'm just like, no, this is dumb and bad, and I have to ask what kind of game they're playing that makes them come to the conclusion that like, oh, this is good. And it might just be that they're like, this might work. People might like this. Let's see. Which, when you're a billion-dollar company, I'm not quite sure if you should be using the public as your beta testers. You should perhaps pay for beta testers.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I'd be gung ho for some paid beta testing right there.
That'd be awesome.
Hell, call it an internship. Get a bunch of college interns, unpaid, but they're interning. So boom, play D&D for your internship. WotC, take fucking notes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm surprised that they've never used the much forgotten Adventures League as something to this effect of putting out a regular packet of Adventure League material. Even if it was just for a short, 1 month arc of look, this is going to be semi-canonical, this is going to be in a separate Adventure League's world that may or may not have any influence on the grander plot. And use that as a more dedicated feedback zone. But I think part of that is just WotC has kind of let Adventures League slide for a little while.
Yeah, they just let it die. I forgot that it existed until you said something. I looked into it maybe 5 years ago.
I'm gonna be real.
Part
I don't
of the
think
reason why they've set it aside is the rise of pay for online games, where Adventures League was having competition from high quality online dungeon masters. That being said, being one of the DMs for a large public game, not quite a West Marches style game, but definitely a public game that has a single unified and contiguous world. Man, there is still a market for that. We've had 40 people show up several weeks in a row for basically a bunch of open games of D&D, and I'm like, yeah, no, there's still a market for public games.
Oh, there definitely is. I want it. The only reason that I don't do that kind of stuff is I live in Maine. If you want to go to anywhere to get something anywhere decent, you better be willing to drive an hour and a half to get there one way. And still, it's going to be shit. It's going to be terrible. You're going to be going all that way just to get a lackluster experience, but you're not going to get it anywhere else because that's just how things are up here. It's all distance. We got too many trees between
Western
everybody.
Kansas, so I can feel
trees. Deforestation. Come back.
Oddly enough, we got more trees in Maine now than we did 150 years ago, despite all the logging and paper companies. It's one of those weird things, but at the same time, why wouldn't all these paper companies that cut down trees as a business model plant more trees? They'd be dumb not to.
Yeah, you do kind of wonder how these multi-million billion-dollar companies are so out of touch with reality. You
it's
influence
profit motive.
I
don't want to sound like a filthy socialist.
Yeah, I mean,
but
it is, man.
I think if you're going to be in the board of directors on a game company, there needs to be a set requirement. You have to do X, Y, and Z just to be on the board. If you're on the board of directors for Wizards of the Coast, you better bring your EDH deck every fucking day. You better be ready to play some Commander when you walk into the boardroom or you're out. You better have a leveled up, but I don't care what class you're playing, character in D&D. You got to have a weekly game to be on this fucking board of directors, or you're out.
Hey, look,
you
guys have access to some of the best possible people to DM your game. The fact that there's not a public board of directors D&D game going on, what are they doing?
Yeah, I mean, I get that, Hasbro, sure, they play Monopoly in their spare time, but that's with the actual economy. I need you to be sitting down playing Connect 4 and actual Monopoly in the boardroom. Y'all are disconnected trying to run Wizards of the Coast into the ground with your Hasbro having ass. Come on.
I'm pretty sure they tell you that you can stack draw 2s and draw 4s. I don't believe anything they tell you.
Yeah, they should be playing Uno with millions on the line. You have to play, you have to pay a certain amount to get into the boardroom, and then boom, you got your hand, you're ready to go. Whoever wins is the CEO.
Small story about Uno that will tell you something about my life. I learned Uno from the little book that comes with it.
Yeah.
And that's how our family learned Uno. So as soon as I sat down with people who just learned Uno the natural way, and then there were all of these other secret rules, I was like, whoa.
What secret rules?
Okay, I can get behind this, but that's not one of the rules.
I don't think anyone actually knows how to play Uno because every table I go to is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like ERS. Everybody, before you sit down, you have to be like, all right, what are the rules here? What can we slap? What's a trap? What are we doing here?
Are aces wild? I don't fucking know.
Tens
back when I was in school, it's just dude, it's you're either going to play Club Penguin on the classroom computer or you're in the Uno group, you know?
But, and then again, pulling this back to RPGs, I think that's one of the reasons that finally, though, that I got brought back to that or I really like RPGs because the rules are there as a guideline. The real rules are whatever happens at the table. I know that there's a lot of people who wish for a rulings over rules mantra, and I'm like, no, you can't play a game like that. You have to make the decisions in the moment. Make consistent decisions, and have rules that help guide those decisions. But the game lives in that spontaneous aspect of one moment here, one moment there.
The rules aren't going to be able to cover what your players are going to do most of the time. Let's just be real. There's going to be so many rules. You're like, this doesn't really it's not close enough.
Yeah. Hey, can I do this weird thing with shape water where I shape it into a spear underneath the water and then use the buoyant force to go up and spear a boat? Yeah. You know what? That's dope. Give me a spellcasting ability check.
There was a long
Yeah,
time ago.
exactly. When I hear stuff like that, instantly it's that Dale Gribble meme where it's I'm skeptical that you can, but I'm intrigued that you may.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I've heard people say things like, can I try to heat metal the iron in your blood? Can I shape water the water in your chest?
I mean, to be fair, there are certain points where I'm just no.
You're does your lungs count as a empty carrying capacity? Water?
Well, I get that a lot when I DM, so I have kind of a universal rule for dealing with unorthodox means of doing damage or hurting a creature with a non-damage spell, where it'll do damage that's comparable for that level of spell, but it's not at all competitive for that level of spell. It's going to be at the low end and give that creature disadvantage in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they have to make a check against your spell save DC, but outside of that, it's okay, you're doing something that's suboptimal and creative, so I'll let you do it, but it's not going to be something you're going to be rewarded for consistently.
If this was as effective as you were gonna hope it would be, everybody would already be doing this. And since you don't see it on that list of common spells, it's not gonna be as effective as you hope it's gonna be.
It's the whole reason that self-created spells or self-perspected spells are so powerful, because they don't conform to the normal laws of spellcasting. These spells weren't normally existing. Somebody weird like you was like, hey, can I do some fucked up shit?
Yeah, I've had the traditional character that's, hey, I want to use create or destroy water to fill their lungs with water. I'm okay, yeah, you can certainly try. And instead of taking what would normally be D6s or D8s for the average damage of a spell of that level, it's okay, D4s, they got disadvantage, they're coughing up water now.
Before they're suffocating.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta be on the fly with that stuff, but other times you just gotta shut that shit down if you just don't want to deal with it. Lungs are not containers.
Yeah, I will quite regularly just pull back the curtain and say, all right, I'm pulling back the curtain. I don't want to deal with that imagery, so I'm going to say no.
We're not saying, don't try crazy shit with your DMs. Just come on, be real. Be real here.
Like,
I mean, be real in a DM sense. Like, be logical. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, some players just exist to make a DM's life a living hell. Like, the player that I told you about that did the water lungs thing was also known to go and it's like, oh, the bartender didn't give me free drinks. I'm going to sneak behind the counter and water down all their beer with create water. Like, okay, that's very... You're trying to say you're a good alignment and you're doing this?
That's several dozen like sleight of hand checks. Like,
yeah, and this is also the same person that in a previous game, like with another DM we know, is like, okay, I'm gonna break off from the party and go and rob a magic item store, and like, we got a world-ending catastrophe, and you're just gonna go rob some motherfucker?
right.
Yep. I have had a couple of players at the public game try to do that sort of stuff, and my answer is just like, no, I don't want to do that tonight. We're not going to do that. I hope you understand.
I don't want to have to roll by you guys getting arrested and dying in like fucking jail. Like, come on, don't make me have to do this.
I've got a set amount of time here, and I want to do something cool today.
No. Like, I want you guys to fight dragons, but now you got to get locked up in federal prison. Like,
there's one thing we don't see enough of in Dungeons and Dragons, and that's the dungeons, honestly. Like, people complain about all the power imbalance in D&D. It's because y'all aren't in dungeons.
It is wild to see that 5th edition has evolved in a way that it was designed to accept, but not necessarily designed to excel at. I think in general, it is... I want to say that Matt Koval recently posted a video trying to use some keywords, and I think the keywords that he used were heroic and a lot more cinematic than I think it was originally put forward to, because there are still a lot of things that are technically balanced when you think in more of like, oh, this is built for a dungeon crawling game. Like the idea that, oh, there's you're going to do 6 encounters in a given adventuring day. And I'm like,
yeah,
maybe if you're fairly broad with what you expect an encounter to be, but it's also fairly clear that the resources are budgeted out for you to have like 6 resource draining encounters, and just the focus of the game is a combat game. So most of the resources are combat resources.
Yeah, and then you have a bunch of people going for that social flair, and it's like, oh, we're just going to go from one town to another. You have to squeeze that many encounters. Like, okay, maybe you got 1 for the town, maybe 2 for each town, and then you have to have 2 in between. And it's just like, as soon as they get the town, they're going to go to the inn. They're going to go to fucking sleep. Like, you haven't really drained much for resources, and like, I don't think I've been in a proper dungeon crawling game in a long time, you know?
Dungeon crawls require so much more prep work than the more sort of fiction-first, free-form games that you see in lots of other places. Like, when was the last time Critical Role went on an actual dungeon delve where you're caring about things like time passing and torches and encumbrance? Now, granted, I have not seen all 2 billion hours of Critical Role.
Neither have I.
But I doubt that there has been a serious dungeon crawl in a
I would
time.
agree.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard about dungeons and seen, I can only imagine. Like, you got like 80 rooms you're going that they could probably go through. You know, you got, let's say, 40 encounters. You know what I mean? 20 trap rooms and maybe 10 treasure rooms.
Now, don't get me wrong. Dungeon crawls can be fun, and I have had a lot of fun on some dungeon crawls. They're just differently paced, and you have to kind of be like down for a dungeon crawl. And I think a lot more people, it is harder for people to get into the mood for that sort of tactical focus all the time of a dungeon crawl than it is And also just like 5e mechanically doesn't it sort of supports that time scale, but one of the things that's been kicking around in my design brain for a while has been a better subsystem for that 10-minute turn sort of chicanery, 10 or 1 minute turn instead of 6-second turn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because like D&D does the 6-second time scale pretty well, and it does the D&D is half of a rules light game when you get to the freeform like roleplay and skills checks of just like, you got a set of skills. If you can justify to your DM why one would fit here, you'll roll it. It's honestly pretty rules light on that end. But when you get down into like dungeon crawling, where like you're engaging more with the mechanics, but there's not really like good hooks all the time for organizing that sort of play, at least in my experience. Haven't done them a lot because I've been frustrated every time. I'll try one every couple months of like, all right, let me see if I can build a dungeon crawl this time. And then I end up 3 encounters in and like, well, I gotta wrap this up here now, guys.
Yeah, like I went through all the trouble of like kind of putting one together for my players in the last campaign that I was running, but then things started to fizzle out because like everyone had scheduling issues, things were all up in the air with everybody, and it's just like, damn, we finished the module, I had like things all hyped up, you guys were heading down underneath Waterdeep to get to this thing because someone robbed the boss, and it all kinds of crazy shit going on. Gonna interact with a lich. Everybody's after this treasure that y'all stole. All kinds of crazy shit. But at the end of the day, like sometimes players don't know how to handle a dungeon crawl. Like you said, like one of our players in our party currently, we were talking about items and stuff that you could get at the shop, and she takes a look at the 10-foot pole. It's like, what the fuck would I ever need that for? And I'm like, oh. You have no idea.
I think with that, it's a pretty good segment to take our quick break, then we can come back with the D&D news. I'm realizing it's been 50 minutes here, and we haven't gotten to any of our segments.
haven't even started on the monster.
Oh man, just having good conversation.
Gives me a moment to lay this one down.
Sure.
She's passed out.
We'll be right back. I'm gonna have Fen play something here.
Ahoy there! Yes, you! The one wearing the limited edition, nerdy franchise-related shirt. Do you like meeting in taverns with names like the Leaky Wench and the Wounded Willy? Do you regularly spend time with unintelligent barbarians or antisocial rogue assassins? And do you have a friend who always insists on being DM and making you last in initiative because you forgot to take snacks? Then you're in the right place. Join Sam and Orion every week for Dungeons and Talkshows, where they'll have monster deep dives, special guests, and spotlight homebrew creations made by the community. The boys are here to educate and entertain in all areas of role-playing games. Whether you're a new player or a hardened veteran, we are your people. Even the unintelligent, morons, and dunderheads can all enjoy and learn from our discussions. So come and join us on Dungeons and Talkshows on YouTube and all the usual podcasting apps. You won't regret it. But then again, we're nerds, so what do we know?
Okay, so this week we got a couple little bits on the D&D community news, like Pathfinder. They pushed several of their books into 2024 amid their relocation and website upgrades. So
nice.
Expect delays on the latest Pathfinder books. I didn't know that they were producing that many because, like, when I go to the bookstore and I'll see like 1,000,001 D&D books, and I'll see like maybe 2 Pathfinder books. Like, are they not stocking up on the Pathfinder books in my area? Like, am I getting conned here?
Which is surprising because the churn rate for Pathfinder is so much higher than it is for 5e. Like, they release something quite often. Like, maybe for a while, I think it was like 2 books a quarter.
Seriously? Well, I've been living under a rock.
Well, I didn't know that at all.
I could have been stealing content from Pathfinder books for my games.
Long time ago, man, damn.
There are like 4 bestiaries at this point.
Damn. All that could have been bogarted.
Paizo having its origins in a magazine publishing world definitely has that sense of like, this is how you do a rhythm of content.
It does make sense. Yeah, they would have that flow down. We would pump those books out like no problem.
Yeah. Let's see. Looking more into the article here. Butler took to the official Paizo blogs on July 19th, explaining the company's plans for the rest of the year. Unsurprisingly, he began by discussing the United Paizo Workers Union. Ah, they're unionized.
Yeah, woo! TheNerdMilitia support the union.
I think when it comes to unions, there's a time and a place, and I don't think I have an opinion on whether or not Paizo is a time or a place because I don't know their work conditions.
Yeah, I have no idea.
It was
I know
necessary,
my job is
as
a
I
union
remember.
now. Yeah, I know this is the first union I've ever been a part of with my job, and like, I know there's no difference. So I mean, if it works,
you're a union worker,
and they have like that backing that the unions is supposed to provide, then good for them. Yeah,
I think it's good. Yeah, I think they're good when you're dealing with a very exploitative industry. Like, don't get me wrong, like, lots of industries are very exploitive, but, like, some more than others, some are just, like, kind of straightforward. Like, do you really want a bunch of fast food workers to unionize? Make it even harder to fire the people that can't get your order right? It's like,
sorry,
y'all can't even remember.
You work at McDonald's.
Oh shit, I forgot. A lot of people that play D&D work at McDonald's.
If you work at McDonald's, this is us telling you, get the goddamn
No,
orders.
but as I recall, the unionizing effort for Paizo several years back was sparked by a little bit of a hostile work environment and some particularly bad interpersonal management issues. And I think in general, one of the things that the Paizo community has said is that the quality of things improved after the unionization efforts.
That's awesome. That's really good to
know. It's one of those things where there's a time and a place, you know? Like Paizo, that I'm gonna, after what you told me right there, I'm gonna assume you're correct, and I'll say that's the time and the place. I mean, an example of maybe not the time and place would be teachers unions where we're getting way too many pedophiles in the schools. It's like, maybe we should be firing a lot more of these teachers if they keep fucking our kids, you know? Like, I'm a father of 4. I'm a little biased here, so sue me.
Police unions are definitely neither the time nor the place.
Government unions in general. Fuck the government.
Dungeons and Talkshows. Like the government.
Yeah. Wait, should we keep post office unions? Like, you know, they seem all right. You know, like, they don't deliver to my house. Fuck them too.
They don't deliver to your house.
Dude, I live less than a mile from the post office.
It has been miserable enough where I live that I wish nothing but good things for anybody who will deliver my mail in this weather.
Well, you're lucky they deliver your mail. They won't even show up at my house, and that's like less than a mile walk. It's half a mile away. I live in Maine, so I guess I'm just fucked.
You guys get your mail by Goose.
Going back to the article here, so one of the first major unions in tabletop space was UPW. It served as both inspiration and spearheader for the broader labor positive push from folks at Card Kingdom, TCG Player, and Noble Knight Games. This wasn't an easy task, and we didn't always see eye to eye on the issue, but we worked together for more than a year and found company compromises to create an agreement that I believe works for both company and employees, Butler wrote. And that's not the end of the process. Of course, as leadership and team continues to work with the union on many day-to-day matters that running the company requires. Paizo staff have apparently been hard at work preparing all the player core and GM core orc remastered. Okay, so a lot of, I guess it's got more to do with the orc thing with their open gaming license. That's what it is.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they're extracting the last remaining pieces of the 3rd edition SRD so that they don't have to be beholden to that particular legal framework anymore, and they can be under something that they trust more than they trust WotC.
So they're kind of revamping the entire thing. That's a whole lot of work. And like you said, they had a reason to unionize in the first place. So it's one of those things where like, hey, we got to set some ground rules if we're going to be banging out these books.
And every time you say WotC, my brain thinks of Watsky, like the rapper. I'm like, oh man, the Watsky likes D&D.
Watsky is spitting raps with all these D&D things.
I mean,
listeners, if you know who Watsky is and you can somehow get in touch with him, get him on this podcast.
Get him on the show.
Watsky,
it would not be the most surprising thing.
You were kind of cool.
Dude, I still want to get Orion from like the first season of Critical Role on the show, because like, you know, from one Orion to another, you know, how's it going?
Well, like hiding controversy. I see. That's
exactly.
That's how you get the views.
It's brilliant. I wonder why no one's done it before. Revolutionary right here.
Speaking of you know, some interesting thing going on with Critical Role and the like, what's up with the D20?
Oh yeah, dude. Speaking of union stuff, that kind of goes on to this the actors union strike. The writers are on strike. Hollywood is up in flames because like the big companies are like counting their money as they wait for these people on strike to kind of like just fizzle out, because you know.
Okay, wait, this is really off topic, but I do want to get your opinion on this. All right, so speaking of Hollywood in flames, I'm sure our listeners who are on social medias and Twitter and the like have seen our Spider-Man, you know, and I'm curious. I don't know the full story, if it's like from a movie or a show, but Twitter's been kind of crazy lately about Tom Holland.
What about Tom Holland? What's going on there?
From what I understand, I don't know if it's from a movie or a show, like I said, there is a scene of Tom Holland taking back shots. And a lot of people are like, whoa, not my Spider-Man, you know? So, the internet's doing some things. It's popping off.
Okay, forgive me if I'm retarded, but like, what back shots?
Doggy style for, you know, the undegenerated. There, you know, getting Dunzo from the Bunzo, you know what I mean?
Well, you know, people are gonna do whatever the fuck. Like, I really don't care what he does in his bedroom.
It's fine, to each their own. But that's why I'm saying, like, I think it's from a movie or a scene, and people are kind of going crazy. So I'm curious on what.
Was it like a scene? Like, it was like part of a thing he was in? Like a.
Yeah, it seems like a movie or something like that.
I don't know. They got union stuff for that, so where it's like they don't actually.
Do they have union?
Cut.
I mean,
he's in the actors union, dude.
There's an actors union?
Yeah, that's one that just went on strike.
What is the actors union?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you are right, huh? But like actors, like, you know.
Yeah, like I looked into it the other day. Apparently, there's this thing where like they have like padding so they don't actually touch anything.
Yeah, they have
And-
like the dick sock. You don't know about the dick
Is that
sock?
what they call it?
They do
I mean-
it. Yeah, I've heard about this.
He would not be the first actor who has tried to do something quite out of left field to
Yeah.
be able to separate his own image from something that he was directly tied to. Like
I've always been the kind of like, separate the art from the artist.
Yeah.
I am quite curious on like what people's opinions, what's going on in Hollywood.
well,
It seems like there's a
I
lot
mean-
of different things kind of, going off at once.
because
I mean, if he's getting in front of it,
you had Daniel Radcliffe performing nude in a play like just after.
Oh yeah, like the Broadway
Harry
thing.
Potter. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
he's in a lot of comedies lately.
He is
Like,
a lot.
it's
Apparently, comedy is his passion, and like Harry Potter just paid the bills till he grew up enough to follow comedy. It's weird, but
He's put in his time and a half. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah,
if you're an actor, and
honestly,
you're rich,
I think he does well with it.
life, just vibe out, man. You already made it, man. You're rich. Who cares what people say about anything?
I mean, he seems happier doing these comedies, so it's like, good for you, man.
Oh yeah, love to see it.
But back to the news. It looks like Critical Role is going to be largely unaffected by the whole strikes and stuff because all the actors also own and run the thing. So like, it's kind of like when California tried to enforce a bunch of laws that would force porn producers to treat their actors differently, but most porn actors in California are their own producers. So it's like, oh, well, that doesn't make any sense because these people are producing their own thing.
Right.
It's a lot like that.
Yeah.
Dimension 20, though, that they are like kind of like a bigger company, and the actors on Dimension 20 are unionized, and like the whole thing is subject to the union contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So Dimension 20 hiatus for now. Like while the strike's going on, they're out of commission, bro.
Rest
Yeah,
in peace to
they-
the D20 fans out there.
They'd have to
9%.
negotiate their own contract with the unions, which they might end up doing, or they might just remain as like moral support of like, no, we're gonna sit through this right along with you guys.
It's a weird thing. Like I support people trying to, get their money, but at the same time, like Hollywood's put out so much trash in recent years that I'm just like,
I wonder what this means for, Critical Role. I wonder if they're kind of, feeling the heat from this as well.
Well, there's a lot of pressure on them from outside sources. They're like, "Hey, you should go on strike with us." It's like, are you really going to ask me to go on strike against myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Like,
mean,
am I?
them are part of the union already, so they're already on strike from everything else they're doing.
Right.
Yeah, they're voice actors. Like, okay, so as long as this strike's going on, Matt Mercer's not playing literally any sexy voice that he could be playing out there, Because like he plays some pretty cool characters from time to time. Like he's got like hundreds of characters he's played over the years. It's like,
he was doing something recently, wasn't he? I can't remember what it was.
I
It
don't
was
know.
something new that he mentioned, I think. I can't remember. Anyway.
I don't know. But it seems like until the strike gets resolved, Dimension 20, they're just going to be doing their own thing, just hoping that everything works out. I wouldn't imagine that they would treat their people that poorly. I mean, when your whole thing is like the community, like you got to kind of, you're beholden to the nerd community, so you got to like not treat them like shit, so not treat your people like shit because they're nerds too.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Have we heard anything from, the alleged shit treaties?
The what?
It continues to be bad.
Yeah.
I think the last proposal that I heard about being particularly bad was the proposal to pay background actors basically a day's wage for a digital scan of their appearance, and then the company would own that in perpetuity.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe not. Well, no, that is definitely a bad deal on all fronts of signing away rights to your likeness for $200. No.
I mean, especially with, there's the big discussion of AI, and a lot of people are worried about this kind of exact topic, using your likeness and stuff. And that's going to be, the hot topic for a good while.
I mean, Disney already does that. They take people's likenesses. Like, as soon as you act in one of their movies, they own your likeness.
Yeah, but they also pay a lot for it.
That is also true. They are kind of... you never really hear that, like, Disney doesn't pay well.
Well, unless you work in one of their theme parks.
Yeah, unless you work in the theme park.
Yeah, the theme parks, the writers, basically anyone who's not important, they're uber capitalism. They're not
talking about them anyway.
My favorite Disney related thing is that South Park episode with the Jonas Brothers.
Oh my god. What a throwback that was. Memory unlocked.
Dude, South Park nails it sometimes.
It definitely did. South Park will not survive today.
No, it does survive today. I don't think it could start today, but it's got a long enough legacy to keep going. No, it didn't die.
The diehard fans will keep it alive for as long as they can.
Yeah, no. South Park today wouldn't be on mass market broadcast television, but it would be a very well-respected YouTube channel.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, worst case scenario, they do episode streams. They might make more than Comedy Central's willing to pay.
Probably.
Oh,
from what I heard, it was not very much.
And AI.
Yeah.
I graduated with a degree in computer science, so I keep an eye on this sort of stuff. Somebody recently put together enough pieces of the AI of an AI content development chain. So automated script writing, automated visuals, automated voice replication, and automated editing to produce a completely computer-generated episode of South Park.
Yes, I did hear about it.
Yes.
It's
very popular.
Great.
Yeah, I heard there's many channels now that are popping up.
Yeah.
That are doing things like
all of them are not great, but you're like, man, if I wasn't paying attention and like washing dishes and this just auto played, I don't think I noticed that much of a difference.
I heard there's like an endless SpongeBob or whatever, and that it's one of those, and that it's amazing. Amazing, like it's awful, but like it's hilarious,
It's one of those things, like, we deal with a lot of AI stuff in our Discord because we have a guy that manages bots and things, and we do utilize AI for things here and there, like helping with our thumbnails and whatnot, because although we really support artists, it's just like, there's a time and place for both.
Homebrews. Yeah, because I love paying artists. Yeah. I just am not in a financial position where I can do that nearly as often as I want to.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with AI art. Like, if you're a good artist, then you're always going to have money because people are always going to go to you to get what they want. But when you're just like us, like you ain't got much in the bank, you're not going to pay an artist anyway. So instead of stealing something and having copyright strikes against you, you just kind of generate something that's close enough.
Yeah, when you don't care what you want, then AI generation can like spit out some like stuff that you're like, yes, this is what I didn't know I wanted. Go in, like knowing what you want, man, it is so much harder to get it to generate something for you than to like, go to something and be like, this is what I want.
Yeah, you definitely get it's not the lifeless feel, you know what I mean, of AI art. where you get like an art made by an artist. You can see kind of the work they put in. You feel, the energy they put into it.
Yeah.
I mean, AI art will always be AI art. You know what I mean? It's what it is.
Yeah.
It's computer generated.
Yeah.
Like a lot of artists are threatened, but like have that, in mind. It will always have, your feeling in your art. People who love your art will come to you no matter what. Like,
yeah, and maybe we can reorder the world in such a way that you do not have to sell yourself in that way to be able to afford the necessities, and you can do art for the reason that I think you should do art, which is for its own sake.
Yeah, like I hate the fact that artists are like, I gotta do this to make it. You know what I mean? I gotta do this to get people buying my art. Like, it's just, man, you should be able to just make the art that you want and just vibe out like the old days in the Renaissance. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Like somehow I don't think the Mona Lisa was made with, I'm gonna be, this is gonna be, everyone's gonna love this. I gotta pay my bills with a Mona Lisa. Like when he was making that, he was just making it, dude.
right.
Oh no, he was definitely making it to pay his bills. It was a commissioned artist piece for a very rich merchant company.
Very, very cool.
Leonardo da Vinci was basically the live-in artist in residence for a very rich Venetian merchant family.
Damn.
Going on old school Patreon.
Old school Patreon. Ye old Patreon.
But like even then, like it's one of those things where the guy had enough passion with what he was doing to be able to, like, hundreds of years later, we're still looking at this shit.
Yeah, and he was selling it to one person and not selling it to everyone, which is kind of what you have to do if you're doing work as an online artist right now.
Right.
It's like there's general market, and then there's like, hey, you, could I commission you to do this work? Which fundamentally different. And I think the soul-sucking generalized art that a lot of artists might find themselves sucked into, like AI might just kind of like wipe out like some of that, and then like you're gonna have to go to artists for more personalized stuff, like stuff that actually matters. So it might lead to like kind of a new age of artists, like something
absolutely. It is kind of the way of things, Yeah, industries are constantly evolving, constantly upgrading and changing. Art, is not exclusive. It's gonna evolve. They're gonna have to adapt, unfortunately.
And there are going to be ways that artificially generated content is used in like real artists' creative pipeline. I know that for some of my pieces that I do homebrew-wise, which is not like visual art, but I do occasionally have to turn to like a generative thing of just like, I have something here, but like I'm stuck on like the first sentence of rewriting this first sentence over and over and over again. Chat, get me a paragraph that I can say, yes, this is close. No, this is not what I want. Give me like some phrases that can like spark the editor mind in me that I can actually move past the blank page. So yeah, I'm using a little bit of ChatGTP in my own work, not a lot. I have a good friend of mine, CJ Somedays, and I worked with him recently on a publication called Elysium that uses a lot of AI imagery as inspiration generation. So you have an idea of like, I want a cowboy with a magic gun, and it'll give you something like that. And then you take that and be like, okay, this image inspires me for these kind of mechanics. If you want to look up Elysium Volume 4, which I have some involvement in, it is a really impressive piece of work.
Yeah, I remember you posted, what was it, Elysium 3, I think it was? The one that you posted?
Yes, because I'm working again on the next Elysium 4.
I did look at it a little bit. It looks really cool.
Yeah, like I'm excited to see where that goes. And like on the topic of the AI thing, you're absolutely right, because it kind of serves as like, okay, I got this lateral, just jumbled mess of ideas, and you just kind of like throw it out and have it organize my thoughts for me, or it's just like kind of like ping pong. Like I got something to start with, but I'm unsure of how to start, so it's just like. You can bounce your ideas off of that when you don't have a person to bounce your ideas off of. So it's like, it's kind of like those ping pong tables when you flip them up on one side and you're playing yourself. And for some people, it's difficult to kind of like put yourself in that mindset. So it's a tool, it's an aid. And that's exactly where I see the whole AI thing going. Just being a tool and an aid, not the replacement.
Yeah. Definitely.
That is the good version of the future, yes.
Yeah.
It's the version of the future that I want.
right.
We'll see if we can make that version of the future happen instead of the other version.
I think a lot of people are very afraid of the potential alternative. And I think if you fight it hard on that front rather than integrate it into the positive way that it can work, because like AI is fundamentally flawed when you utilize it. Like I've developed an eye and an ear for AI. Like you can spot it a mile away if you're used to it and like little things here and there. It's like, okay, AI.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's up to us to make sure that the good future wins.
Yeah, it is definitely. It's all in how you use it, And like you said, it is a tool. It could be used for a lot of good, and it could definitely be used to put a lot of people out of work.
Yeah.
It's kind of just the way of things. Human, evolution. We all grow and change. Shit. How do you think they felt about like the industrial age? People who, didn't know how to work on those machines. Like they were like, "What the fuck?"
Hey, I mean,
how dare you invent?
It is a strange human power to take our dreams and as we sleep, mold them into something that can become reality. We're kind of like beholders in that respect.
Oh man. We definitely are kind of like beholders, and it's cool. I don't even think we have time to get to it today, but this was such a good series of conversations and threads. I'm sure to our listeners might have been a little bit all over the place and a little bit out of structure of our usual, but I think people come and they enjoy just the conversations at the end of the day. Ryan's a little bit gone. But I think with this... Oh, he's back. Never mind. All right. I haven't said anything.
Sorry about that. Children being children.
As
they've been they've been extra obsessive tonight.
That's okay. All right. I think we're good to move on to your Descriptify and then our homebrew and end it up.
Well, this week for Descriptify, I bring to you Benevolent and Malevolent. Now, how many times have you been in a game? Yeah. How many of your players know the difference?
I'm sure our listeners are like, he didn't even say it right. I don't think he knows the difference. And that's what we are here for. We are here to tell you, to educate the masses. Welcome to our English class today, Orion. Educate these people, please.
Well, you see, a benevolent, very important distinction here. Like, say you have a benevolent king. It's like it's kind of like rooted in some Latin there, bien, bueno, the kind of a good things. Like, okay, this is a good force, a good person, So if you're describing something as benevolent, it's like, okay, this person's all right. It's like the benevolent king. Yeah, he's a good ruler, takes care of his people, lets them unionize and shit. And then you got your malevolent, which is bad, you know? So
Mhm.
the malevolent
Sure.
dictator, you know, like that kind of shit.
Okay.
It's like, okay, this is a very malevolent boss that y'all are working for, like
Mhm.
a malevolent deity, patron, you know, that kind of stuff.
Right. I think what's important in the distinction, malevolent is like, you mean to do well, you do good things. Not just like you are a good person.
See, you already mixed it up.
No, I said benevolent. But malevolent is, you have not just the ill will and, the desire to do bad, but like, you're actually like fucking some shit up if you're actually malevolent. You know what I mean? Like, you're out here like burning down cities just cause. Like,
Well, that sounds about right. You know,
you got like that deep internal, like, I want to cause pain. You know what I mean?
well, a malevolent force
pain.
might want to cause some pain, burn down a city,
Yeah.
destroy the infrastructure.
People talk about, deities and kings, right? Being malevolent and protecting the people, helping the mortals and saving them from the malevolent, threat. Nice word choices. I like it.
Good words.
Always trying to expand the DM lexicon.
I think there's a book that I read a long time ago. It was kind of like a graphic novel, I believe. The first book was called Malice, I believe, and it was about like, I think it was like the guy like read a book and then like the book like came to life. He got like sucked into it basically. I don't know, a bunch of crazy shit. But like the whole basis of the story, basically the whole basis of the story was like he's being influenced by these malevolent forces. These like energy of havoc, of chaos, of malevolence and malice. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you really get to see how it interacts with this who was just a regular person. What it's like to be around true malice. I like that.
Like it can be a presence, like if you describe something in that way with like a presence, that can work very well when you have a paladin in the party. They're like, okay, I can detect good, detect evil, and it's like, okay, you smell a good force. Like, okay, like what does that smell like? What, you're just going to say good and bad? That's not as flowery. You're a DM. You're like a writer. You got to sell this world.
I think using these words also kind of describes, like, you could say, he does like bad stuff. He's like a bad guy. But, like, if you go to your paladin and you're like, this is a malevolent force. Like, they genuinely, you know what I mean, are out for your throat. Like, this is a true evil force. You could say something's evil, but they don't have to be malevolent. You know what I mean? They could be bad, but they're not malevolent. You know what I mean?
We're going back to the Wreck-It Ralph. Just because he's a bad guy doesn't
he's just
mean
a bad guy.
guy.
Exactly.
God, one of my absolute favorites.
It's all the nuances. It's all the nuances.
And then they destroyed it in Wreck-It Ralph too.
They did.
Wait, they made a sequel? No,
they did.
They wouldn't be so stupid to make a sequel.
Oh man!
Just like nobody ever made. Somebody should really get on making a live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender movie, right?
Oh man, they can only do good things.
Yeah, that'd be great. As long as they didn't do something silly like get M. Night Shyamalan as a director.
This would be a great
weird.
time to just end the episode. Like, we just cut it off there.
Yes, he is a major general. Yes, I am a major general.
As long as they don't take a specifically Japanese culture and just make them a bunch of Indians, let's see how that works out for. Why were the Fire Nation all Indian? Why? I don't understand.
I try not to ask questions about non-existent movies.
Yeah, I'm sure if I saw them I would remember, but
I think I had a nightmare
about it
once.
so much already. We might as well just move on, I guess. I don't even know what we're talking about here.
Well, malevolent forces
what we could
like,
be.
Malevolent forces like M. Night Shyamalan aside.
Yes, M. Night Shyamalan.
Exactly.
Baba Yaga.
Now there's a name for a Rakshasa.
Yeah, that works actually. I like that. Like, headcanon is a Shababalaba is a Rakshasa in real life. Yeah, only a Rakshasa would abuse their workers enough to start a union.
Damn, that's how they really get them.
Yeah. I should have known with the two left hands that something was up.
Two left hands.
God, that's so sinister.
They're true evil. If you're left-handed, you're evil. We all know this. It's fine.
Okay, now I have to
Damn.
like a Rakshasa
Alienate
lord.
10% of the population, my friend.
10% doesn't watch our episodes. It's fine.
Now I'm thinking of what I would do for a homebrew Rakshasa warlock patron, because I think that'd be pretty cool.
What about a right-handed Rakshasa? What about that?
Oh shit.
You'd have to create like a good version of the Rakshasa.
Yeah, a good Rakshasa. That sounds
Yeah. You're on the right side of history.
The Rock Lobster. The Rock Lobster, sorry.
You know that the Latinate root word for sinister means left, right?
Oh shit. We got him.
It's come full circle. They knew all along.
It makes sense. I mean, how many Latin-speaking Roman people had left-handed spears? Yeah, okay.
Thanks.
There we go. We should move on.
Think about
Right.
that for a second.
I think the next segment is calling our name, Sam.
The homebrew.
Generic rounds, lots of fun, excellent.
This nigga will never get old.
All right. So, Sam, what you got for homebrew this week?
So like I said earlier, I went back to an old faithful of my own, the CrossFit Studios Wonders. What's it called? Wonderwear. There you go, Wonderwears. And I bring you the Shackle Twins. I think that's how you say it.
Wondrous
Shackle Twins.
Wonderwears.
Yes. Thank you. Alright, so the Shackle Twins. I think that's how you say it. It says
Shackle?
here. Shackle, yeah. Anas and Dendris, Shackle, were twin green dragons who were so entirely blinded by their mutual hatred for one another that it eventually led to the downfall of the entire Shackle lineage. Cursed under the final breath of their mother, the souls became bonded to this realm, cursed to be forged into twin blades made from their skeletal remains, changed to one another for eternity.
So these are like
Yes.
two-headed dragons?
These are, they look kind of like short swords or daggers, I believe. And they kind of have like the bone blade with like the teeth,
Okay, that's kind of neat.
Right. So these are a 1d6 damage with a 1d4 of poison, 5 charges with a long rest to recharge, and a 1 minute duration. So these weapons are cursed, and becoming attuned to it extends the curse to you. Until the curse is broken with remove curse or similar magic, you are unwilling to part with them and have disadvantage on attacks made with weapons other than these. As an action, the wielder can throw the Shackle twin blades anywhere within a 20 to 60 foot range, where they become shackled to one another after speaking their names, turning into a single floating weapon that will try to bite the closest creature. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that makes sense. So you put them together.
Wait, they
it
try to
kinda
bite?
Looks like a jaw. Oh, that's really cool.
Oh, okay. A weapon with a bite attack. Now you got my attention.
I'm seeing now, because like the way these blades look, they kind of look like, the two halves of like a jaw. Kind of.
Okay, some jawbone.
It's kind of cool. All right, so we'll try to bite the closest creature. In order to keep a friendly creature from becoming the weapon's target, the wielder needs to perform a successful DC 14 persuasion check. The weapon comes apart once the charge expires, or after rolling a critical failure upon attack, and fly back to the wielder. So they could just go off and attempt to bite an ally. That's kind of cool.
Okay, I like
You have
that.
to persuade your weapons.
So you just got your weapons. You're just kind of chilling out, like D'Artagnan. Stop! Come back, boy! Don't bite! Heal!
I just picture like your teammates just ah. All right. Once it's been activated, the weapon will take turn after its wielder. The weapon can make a single +7 melee attack with the target within 5 feet of the weapon, or move up to 20 feet to the closest target and then make the attack. On a hit, the target takes 2d6 plus 4 piercing damage, plus an additional 2d4 poison. Both weapons
move 20 feet? Does it drag you with it?
It does not.
So does it just leap out of your hands and start attacking?
The weapon, once you activate it and you use your action, it basically leaps out of your hands to strike within a 20 to 60 foot range, where they become shackled to each other.
So it's a spiritual weapon sort of thing.
Basically, kind of.
A cursed spiritual weapon. I can dig it.
Yeah, sort of.
I put that shit on a leash.
Last but not least, both weapons seem to repulse one another, making it impossible for them to touch. Attacking with both weapons in a single turn creates a 5% chance that the weapons will activate and turn on its wielder at the end of the turn for a single attack.
So you can trick your players into thinking that, hey, dual wielding looks like a great idea.
When in actuality, these weapons hate each other. Like, oh man.
So the dual wielding character that doesn't want to part with it because it's cursed, and then it's like, okay, yeah, let's give it to the dual wielding guy, and he's like, yeah, let's fucking go, and then all of a sudden they leap out of your hands, start attacking everything, and you're like, I just wanted to do a thing, and then they start attacking you and your party.
You're like, wait, no, stop. Fails. Bites someone on the ass.
I mean, that is consistent with how dual wielding has been portrayed in the rest of 5e, so yeah, it fits.
I mean, yeah, it's not too perfect. They're already doing that anyway.
Let's just shit on dual wielding even more. Thanks, guys.
You're not even.
This is hilarious. I'll give. This is hilarious. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Like,
I agree.
It's amazing.
I like it, and it has the added addition of being, dragon-made weapons. I agree. I like it. 9 out of 10.
All right, ID. What you got for a homebrew?
Sure. I've got a lot of homebrews, so I'll bring forward one of the spells that I've found particularly fun over time. This is Extraordinary Geometry, a 3rd level transmutation for Warlock and Wizard, casting time of 1 action. Range 60 feet, where it provides a 20-foot radius sphere. Somatic, verbal, and material components, with the material components being a measuring ruler, which is consumed. And duration...
I have a feeling this is Doctor Strange's mirror dimension.
Concentration up to 10 minutes. You slightly rotate the space-time of a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point that you can see within range, causing normal geometry to break and become non-Euclidean. Parallel lines can intersect, and creatures can be swallowed whole by acute angles that act obtuse.
Dude, alright, that's cool as hell.
Other non-aberration...
my protractor for this.
Other non-aberration creatures in that area must spend twice the normal movement and take 3d4 slashing damage for every 5 feet it moves. Creatures outside the area have disadvantage on attacks made against creatures inside the area, and vice versa. On your turn, you can hide inside the area. On your turn, while you are inside the area, you may use your bonus action to hide, even if you would not otherwise be able to hide as you step into the folds of extruded space-time.
This is so funny because we talked about the Ruby campaign earlier, and one of my favorite abilities in like all of like anime and stuff is spatial manipulation. I gave my Ruby character a void semblance that I created that gave him spatial manipulation. I'm living for this.
Yep.
This is cool as hell.
At higher levels, when you cast this spell using a 4th level slot or higher, increase the diameter of the affected area by 10 feet for each slot level above 3rd. So,
okay, I like this.
I dig it.
It's fun. It tickles my math brain a little bit. What little of it there is. But like, damn, I love that it consumes like I would assume protractors and rulers and like any math instruments you might have on you. Maybe all you have left is a sextant, and you're like, okay, I hope this works.
Snaps the sextant, space-time rotates.
Oh no.
Imagine having different effects if you just kind of like it's vaguely ruler-ish.
What if you like you have someone like I don't know have like a magic gyro, you know, and then they're like just start fucking like flipping that shit all crazy.
Part of this I also love is a character after they've cast this a couple times having to go in and be like, all right, I need to buy a couple of rulers. Who here has cartographers?
The ruling for Vertigo.
I love
Is that
it.
a condition in D&D?
I mean, it is now.
Inducing Vertigo? I'm down.
I love it. And just imagine someone like someone like say Adam Savage, because guy has a ruler tattooed on his arm. So it's like you go, it's like chunk of skin gone. Like
yeah, what if it's like you have a tattoo?
Yeah, you got just your entire body's just like you lift up your shirt. It's just nothing but ruler tattoos. Take a little bit of damage every time you cast the spell. It was cheaper than buying an actual ruler.
You go back into the tattoo shop. You have like 37 ruler tattoos, please. It's a busy week. I like it. That's a 10 out of 10 as well. It's really fucking cool. Actually, you know what? For being special manipulation, that's a 10 out of 10 for me. I mean, it's kind of similar to the one that I talked about a long time ago, that spell that was like a black hole or something. Love it.
Space stuff is
I give it I give it that 9 out of 10 just because like I love the acute and the obtuse. So I'm just like, you got me with the math terms.
I always love the idea of like folding and bending and tearing and distorting stuff. It's so cool.
Yeah, just gonna crumple this entire area with geometry.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see how players abuse that. Somehow they find a way.
Good one to follow is yours. What you got, Orion?
Okay, I present to you guys the Dismantler subclass for Artificer. Now, as y'all know, I'm a big Artificer buff. I love the class, but it doesn't get enough love. And that's why I'm bringing this one in this week. I'll read off some of the stuff we got here. To truly understand how each intricate piece of a puzzle works, dismantlers have learned how to pick apart and break machinery, so they can assemble their own work just as quickly. All the destructive power you harbor is best used on objects and structures you wish to undo. So this is a reverse engineering type subclass.
Nice. Steal the alien tech. I like it.
Right? DARPA is a big fan of this one.
Miles.
Sorry.
What the fuck was that?
You got a phone call. I suddenly muted.
Alright, so starting at level 3, you get Dismantler spells. So you're always going to know these. They're going to be prepared no matter what. And you get them at certain levels as you level up as a Dismantler. So at 3rd level, you'll get access to Earth Tremor, Thunderwave, and Mold Earth. At 5th level, you're going to get Knock and Shatter. At 9th, Dispel Magic and Fireball. And then at 13th, Elemental Bane and Vitriolic Sphere. And at 17th, we're going to cap that out with Destructive Wave and Telekinesis. So, very utilitarian, very destructive spells.
A lot of room for you to kind of be creative.
Yeah, very on brand. Then we're following it up with the 3rd level ability, Breakdown. When you cast a spell of 1st level or higher that deals damage, you can end one of your magical tinkering properties to heighten the effect's volatility. let me just zoom in on this, because, like, okay, that's much more clear. Okay, so you can end one of your magical tinkerings. So that's pretty interesting, because you don't see much interaction with magical tinkering otherwise with abilities. So when you roll the maximum result on a damage die for a spell, you can re-roll that die and add both results to the total damage dealt. Okay, that's pretty neat. Moreover, you know exactly how to build any object you've completely destroyed or taken apart within the last month. You can do so as in half the time it would normally take to make. Alright, so like if you find like clockwork magic items, this might be pretty useful. Like you just gotta smash the first one. and then
find like a clockwork warforged or something.
So if you kill your party member, you can make 2 of them?
You know what, man? It's kind of weird.
A creature is not an object, but a corpse is, so you can remake their corpse.
I mean, a warforged.
I've got to dismantle this party member who just died just to reassemble. We can build him. We can make him better, faster, stronger.
On the other hand, being able to just like create an exact copy of the corpse of your teammate, I think there's some interesting plans there.
Yeah,
some disassembly required.
Do some interesting things with that. All right, what do we got next?
5th level we got, let's see here, disassembly. You can have a spell you cast treat each part of an object or structure that's able to fit within a 5-foot cube as a construct instead. Further, you can target these objects and structures exclusively by expending one of your spell slots or ending one of your artificer infusions. Okay, so that ending an infusion as... Yeah, like, you can be extra destructive. I like that. These targets typically follow the statistics for objects and rules for use for AC and ability scores. If the spell reduces one of these target to 0 hit points, you can have it disassembled into constituent pieces or into into a separated 5-foot cube of the object or structure. You can have the disassembled target fall to the ground without any more damage, or appear in an open space within 5 feet in front of you. Okay, that's interesting. So you can like just use a spell slot or end an infusion to just completely dismantle something.
Right. Let me tell you the best use for this in combat. You spend the spell slot to target somebody's armor specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I gotta know how it works.
Hey, if you know how plate mail works, I'm sure that you can do any plate mail. Mm-hmm. And suddenly that Death Knight that you're fighting with plate mail, yeah, his AC is now 12.
Yep.
So disassembly is the stripping spell. I love it.
Yep. Or the de-weaponing spell. Want to make someone a melee fighter now? Congratulations.
Yeah, they had a gun.
Oh, that's cool.
That's a nice gun there.
It'd be a shame if someone were to take it apart and see how it ticks.
Yeah, and I could replicate it myself. Unfortunately,
I like that sword. Let me take that apart. And then they have to pick it up by its tang, and it's just like, that's horribly uncomfortable. You ever pick up a sword by its tang? Not fun.
Yeah.
All right, and then at level 9 we got recycling.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
When you disassemble a target with your disassembly, you can use the parts to build a new object no larger than the original as part of the same action. If the new object can bear one of your artificer infusions, you can imbue it with one of your choice until you use this feature again, or until the artificer infusion ends. This infusion does not count against your maximum number of infusions. Okay, so you could dismantle someone's armor and then turn it into a +1 longsword. In theory.
Or turn it into armor for you.
Yeah.
Yes. That's perfect. It's like, oh, cool. You run right up to somebody, disassembly, and then have it at the same time reassemble onto you.
Exactly. Kind of like magical girl transformation into a suit of armor.
Exactly.
Like, this is giving the vibe of an artificer. I'm feeling it.
Yeah, it's everything I want, really. And then getting into level 15, we got Sledgehammer Tactics.
Nice.
Your destructive nature grants you the following benefits. Your damage is doubled against objects, structures, and constructs. You can cast the spell Elemental Bane at 4th level using a spell slot of any level you can do so as a bonus action if the spell slot is of 4th level or higher. Okay, so you could bonus action Elemental Bane. Neat.
Honestly, what the spell needs.
Absolutely.
So we're going to buff this spell right here. Call it a day. And I like it, you know? It's pretty straightforward. It's got that artificer vibe. You're just tearing things apart, building things up, and at instant speed at later levels. And I love that.
Yeah, that's really cool. It definitely gives the vibe of, this technological, magic man. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like a perfect blend of magic and technological, innovation.
If you're doing,
You have that knowledge and you're applying it actively.
if you're doing an Eberron campaign or a campaign based off of Arcane, man, this'll be perfect for that.
Yeah, this will go crazy.
Yeah, this subclass is done by GOK. So I found that at homebrewery.naturalcrit.com. So check that out if y'all get the chance.
Congrats to you. Fantastic work on this one. Sounds really cool.
I'm a big fan of the Eberron setting, and I think it's criminally underused, really. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
having vehicles in D&D is amazing in my opinion. Like, dude, do you know how many campaigns would be so much better with trains?
Everything is better with trains.
I like trains.
Yeah,
Literally everything
it has
is better
nothing-
with trains.
Has nothing to do with an obsession with trains I had as a child. Not at all.
Nothing at all. All right.
Couldn't
That's a good
possibly.
one to kind of close up on out with, you think?
I'd say so. So, Mr. IDBN, is there anything that you want to plug and kind of leave our listeners with?
Well, for the most part, I tend to post on r/Unearthed Arcana, and in most of the comments there, you'll find a link to my Discord server called the Unearthly Archive. I encourage you guys to come join that. We have daily discussions, a lot of really talented other creators who are posting promotions for their work. And
Awesome.
in the next couple of weeks, I will be trying to get out, or hopefully by the end of this week, I will be trying to publish a adventure called Tavern Clash, which is supposed to take place in the middle of the Waterdeep Dragon Heist and Dungeon of the Mad Mage campaigns, wherein several taverns across Waterdeep rise up as bipedal mechs and fight each other. So that should be coming out here in a little while. And I am working on a secret Kickstarter project that should be running in the next couple of months to try to gain up enough seed funds to be able to pay for the cool art that we talked about previous.
Because that custom art's where it's at. You definitely got to come back on the show to give us that special sneak peek into that project. That sounds cool.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Sam, he was
thank you
holding
so much
out
for
on us
having
with those. He was holding out on us with those taverns. Like, dude, that's fucking awesome.
That sounds really cool. It's so exciting.
Thank you so much for having me.
dude.
This was great.
Man, thanks for coming. A bit of a longer episode this time, but fantastic conversations, fantastic tangents.
As always, this is Dungeons and Talkshows, and hope y'all enjoy your week.
Enjoy your weekend!
Thanks for listening to Dungeons and Talkshows, brought to you by the Nerd Militia. Check us out on Patreon or Discord if you want to support us, and if you want to get more Nerd Militia content, you can follow us on Twitter,
Reddit, Facebook, and YouTube, or really any of the usual podcasting platforms. But as always, we're nerds, so what do we know?